Morning, afternoon, or evening. For the Press Corps, I'm Jeffrey Jennings. Here in the 71st conflict of the Foxhole War, it's the afternoon of day 224. Here in the eastern regions, the colonials have had some headway, despite being kicked out of Marben Hollow and repeatedly kicked out of Endless Shore. It seems the colonials have finally managed to get some solid foothold, or at least more solid foothold, in the middle thirds, the middle western thirds of Endless, at the relic bases, at Old Jack Tar, as well as the town of Enduring Wake. A lot of that particularly being steady from the seemingly unbreakable town of Salt Caps, which has fallen to the Wardens a couple of times, but very, very difficult town to hold by the Seavish troops, it seems. But regardless, that does bring us to the current day 224, where the colonials have now entered the outskirts of southwestern Saltbrook Channel and have laid siege to the town proper. And that also brings us to PressCorps Warden correspondent Spots Blemish, live from the city of Saltbrook Channel. Spots, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm currently looking over the main street of fighting, which leads up to the western safe house of the town.
Yes, can you just describe more of the situation there in the southern half of the city?
It's currently on the colonial side. They're bringing up two of their newest pieces of technology that has been officially recently approved by the colonial army: the mass production tank.
Go on.
With the mass production tank, this tank was specifically built for the use of mass productions. These tanks can be produced at a 5 to 3 ratio. Every 5 tanks produced, it costs 3 tanks in a mass production factory.
Can you describe where the battle lines have been drawn? It seems here.
The battle lines have been drawn mainly around the factory wall entering into the city.
Go on.
The factory walls into the city are the main battle lines currently, as the tanks trying to edge into the city and try and support the infantry. The city is currently mainly, what I've seen is an infantry fight, with the tanks on the outskirts trying to avoid combat due to the fact that city environments are rough for tanks.
Now, how safe do you think it is for those falchion tanks to actually get into the city? If they were to enter the city, if they were to charge headfirst, how safe of an endeavor would that be for them?
Oh, that's going to be suicidal, especially with the Warden's newest approval, known as the Bonesaw Mark III anti-tank launcher.
Can you describe how that functions?
It's an indirect AT weapon, which long story short, can fire at an angle of above if I'm pretty sure, maybe even above roofs of buildings to strike the tank from the top. Which is the location where the armor is the weakest at. It's an indirect fire AT weapon.
Indirect fire, so we've got a kind of a Piat-esque weapon that can fire over obstacles if aimed correctly. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is a spig. Oh right, as well as that, it is a spigmore. The same type of spigmore is used on the 250mm guns.
That might just prove very useful in an urban environment, certainly over the low-hanging walls.
As well as that, Warrens have just... Right, it looks like the Warrens have just filled in a Silverhand. Priced out of the vehicle factory right next to me.
A Silverhand, can you describe who's crewing that Silverhand, if you can?
The Silverhand is crewed by 82 DK.
8 members of the 82 DK, just the one Silverhand?
Yeah, 4 members of the 82 DK, as well as that, a random tank right next to it.
Another random tank. What type of tank is that?
Another Silverhand. The Silverhands are the most popular Warden tank by my knowledge.
Understood. So 2 Silverhands. Are they protecting the factory?
No, they're not protecting the factory. They're protecting truly the main road into the city.
Right.
The road I'm standing on doesn't actually lead into the city. It leads into a T-way intersection, which one way is a dead end, the other way leads to the road that leads into the city itself.
2 Silverhands versus 2 Falchion. Colonial tanks. Anything else in terms of armor that you can spot right now?
What I witnessed earlier, yep, there's an LTD to the southwestern flank.
Pelican's light tank destroyer. long range might be useful for getting deep into the main street. That can kind of going deeper into the city, but may have a hard time around those cracks and corners. In fact, those silver hands might actually be extremely useful in an urban environment. If one turret can face one direction, then another turret can cover the flank, cover its own flank.
Right. As well as that, there's one scout tank that's mainly supporting the infantry as they try and flush out the infantry presence inside the city.
One Warden scout tank and 2 silver hands. Meanwhile, outside of the city outskirts, is 2 Falchion legionary tanks and a Pelakes light tank destroyer. It looks like it's going to be a showdown. As for fire support operating within the sector and surrounding sectors, who's launching what at who?
Currently, by what I've seen right now, no fire support. But what I've heard earlier over radio comms is that way earlier today, a storm cannon, I'm not sure where, was firing at this general sector.
So a little unclear at the moment, but that's okay. Do you think that western safe house, that southwestern safe house for the Wardens, is going to fall anytime soon, considering it's several blocks in, city blocks in?
No, it's not going to fall soon, especially by what I've seen how well supplied it is.
Well supplied, and I'm sure the Colonials as well. Local vehicle factory and the hospital also present in South Saltbrook Channel. That hospital was moved from several wars ago where that hospital would often be fought over. But as for the 2 factories, the 2 critical factories in southwest Saltbrook there, I don't think anyone's using that at the current moment except to shield themselves.
They're dead.
Oh, they're just destroyed. Okay, well that makes perfect sense considering. But as well as at the surrounding areas nearby, say at Battered Landing, have the Colonials attempted in the past hour or so, attempted any kind of flanking maneuvers to try and hit Saltbrook anywhere else?
No, it was the Wardens that did a preemptive strike there, realizing that it's a formidable flank area.
Should be noted that currently the Wardens do have the bottom thirds of Endless Shore, at least for now. The Iron Junction as well as Overland. Woodbine is currently destroyed. That sector lost. But it doesn't seem like anyone's really preoccupied with that right now. Certainly Iron Junction has been a back and forth from Colonial incursion as that strait moves upwards.
Oh my god! The tank fight just broke out. Tank fight just broke out. Repeat.
We have a maneuver here. Can you describe what's going on?
The 2 silver hands are currently rushing the friction tank as it tries to fall back in time. And it looks like result no tanks lost, but it was a quick confrontation between the Frisians and the 2 silver hands, as one of the Frisians apparently fallen back.
Now with those 2 silver hands, that means with 2 turrets each, that means you've got a chance for an opening volley of 4 shots. Were those 2 silver hands able to fire off all four cannons?
By the looks of things, 1 silver hand is not fully crewed. 1 silver hand is fully crewed, while the other one has the basic 2-man crew layout.
If you're just joining us, Warden, PressCorps Warden correspondent, Spots Blemish live from South Saltbrook Channel, the famed city of Salt, as the Wardens attempt to ward off Colonial incursion from the southwest from neighboring Drowned Vale, Enduring Wake, and Old Jack Tar. Anything else you're noticing right now?
Recently, by the looks of things, there's possibly, not sure if it's a FAT or a static AT, but the scout tank has been killed by an AT in position that I can't currently see due to them being hard to spot.
A lot of armor being poured into this city of Salt and City Assault, the city attack, where the Wardens have their work cut out for them trying to contain all of the Colonial incursions, but the Colonials just as likely.
Wait,
Go ahead.
I just witnessed a friendly fire incident between the Wardens and possibly the Wardens with themselves, between an ATR gunner and a...
Oh, trench rep, there you are.
Oh, An anti-tank half-track has just been lost, but what I witnessed was might have been a colonial that got behind the lines, or a friendly fire incident between a Warden LT and a crew by the French 11 FCL
Where was
and
this?
ATR
Where was
gunners.
that located?
That was located just south of the city.
South of the
That was
city. Okay,
located
well that's
south of the
definitely in
industrial
the
district.
no man's land, or kind of the back and forth. There's a good chance colonial commandos were able to sneak up on whoever was trying to poke their head out of the town. It doesn't seem like a smart idea at the moment, but I guess that's why they're called scout tanks.
Right. Currently there's a push going on where LTD is currently facing against 2 tanks, 1 LTD and 1 Fuchsia. And I don't see this light tank lasting for long.
Who's crewing that light?
Oh! Ooh, lucky hit by the light tank crew. They managed to just turret the Fuchsias. I can never pronounce the name.
Falchion?
Okay. Yep. It was turreted.
Turreted, that means the turret is disabled.
Yep.
And by
And
disabled, do you mean it cannot fire or it can't turn, or both?
It can't fire.
It cannot fire, okay.
As well as the light tank crews trying to repair up their light tank to the best of the ability to allow it to retreat out of this dangerous situation.
Well, from the reports that we're getting, it seems those falchions are a dime a dozen.
Yep. That I heard as well. That's their name, mass production tank. That's their common nickname.
That's their classification.
No, they're considered a storm tank like the Silverhand.
Oh, I see.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh, we might be able to see a big boy armor fight right now. I'm following the Seems like there might be some armor movements happening right now in the city. I want to get a better feel of this fight about to happen.
Well, it seems like this is about par for the course for the siege of Saltbrook Channel. Both sides skirmishing armor back and forth. Really, yet any kind of major showdowns between large columns of tanks and operations between large clumps of infantry. Really just more line skirmishing and back and forths as the Wardens try to give themselves some breathing room, and the Colonials trying to angle and surround as much of the southern half of the city as they can. The eventual goal, I'm sure, is to secure for themselves that middle western thirds of Endless Shore and take the southern half of Saltbrook and secure the parallel bridges that lead to the north. Of course, the overhanging question here, as always, particularly here as the war matures onward from day 224, the current day right now, is the fire support options for both sides. If either side can manage to bring forth fire support, either for the colonial mobile light artillery, or just bring forth, as the lines develop, more in place howitzers.
What's not to come soon by the looks of things is the newest weapon of war, the 150 millimeters.
Indeed, those things are ferocious, and they can launch shells far enough to put the fear of God in any person, in any man or woman.
Actually, by what I've noticed, by what I've got schematics of, the Wardens realized that both arty guns they have are similar ranges. They're the exact same range numbers. Meanwhile, the Colonials trade for an extra 50 meters of range with more dispersion, as well as that less minimum range.
Mini medics, please.
Perhaps the most
Go to the,
concerning
the
thing
plus
for
10.
those that might be worrying about fire support is looking at what sectors have not been taken in a long time. Places like Brackish Point and Vulpine Watch. For the Wardens, for the Colonials, places
We're the only
like
thing stopping this
Bootnap
town
and
from
the
getting flooded
Bats,
by fucking tanks.
which have not seen an exchange of factions for quite some time.
Say again?
Who knows if we might get some storm cannon action as well. That's simply a prediction. We can't quite disclose if either side has one up at the current moment, but something to keep a lookout for as they point their guns. They would point their guns at Saltbrook.
As well as I need to remind the fear base, this war might be taking over War Conquest 19 as the second most deadly war.
Now, War 19 is the second most deadly war, you said.
Yes, if I'm correct, it's the second
So-
most deadly war.
Do you know off the top of your head what is the deadliest war?
I think it was War 20.
War 20. What was that number?
I think that was like nearly to 2 million.
Okay, we'd have to check foxholestats.com
Right.
to double check that. Foxholestats.com, an incredible source and resource for so many useful statistics that we go to often. We'll double check
Right,
that.
but I'm making my predictions right. This war might top even the most deadly war to become the most deadly war of Foxhole history.
I'm poised to believe it, particularly as it seems the progress has been slow for the Wardens in really closing this war out, and the Colonials really holding steadfast and looking pretty, at least for the small counteroffensives that they can launch, but have nonetheless, time and again, seemed to be pushed back. Now, Spots, do you have anything else for us before we go back to break?
No, by the looks of things, there's currently nothing major happening on this front.
A lot of armor back and forths, a lot of lines being drawn and slowly pushed by small
Only
SWAT
very major thing is
tactics,
there-
certainly.
There's a no man's land developing west of the city.
That makes sense, considering where the Colonials keep striking from. Even if they get pushed out of Old Jack Tar and Enduring Wake, Salt Caps in Drowned Vale, the neighboring city next over, is just a tough nut to crack, which has been taken before. But Drowned Vale overall becomes a massive quagmire for the Sievish troops that dare try to move in. Both sides embattled and embittered in endless shore so far. We'll see what the other regions have in store for us as fighting continues
My
all
main
across.
prediction. I want to throw out my prediction. My prediction is mainly focusing on the west, the western front.
So far,
right-
right? Yeah. So far, it seems that in terms of continuous pushes, the gallows has been the high watermark for the Wardens in this war. As of yet, formerly Tomb of the First and maybe Salt Caps, but certainly now the gallows, as Fortress Westgate has shown some cracks, but the Colonials certainly spirited in defending that region. Well, that's about all we have for the moment. For the Press Corps, I'm Jeffrey Jennings, and joining me here for this report, Press Corps Warden correspondent Spots Blemish, live from Saltbrook Channel in Endless Shore. Thank you so much, Spots. Well, we'll go back to the music in the meantime and take you to the top of the hour. Stick around. We've got plenty more music coming up next. Additionally, Ken Rister's The Weekend Pass, celebrating the beautiful weekend with all sorts of party jazz, hard bop, and plenty more groovy tunes to get you through your weekend of fighting here in the Foxhole War. So stick around for that. But yes, for the Press Corps, I'm Jeffrey Jennings. Thanks so much. We'll get you around soon enough.
PressCorps Radio. You change stations, you die, piece of shit.